everybody. Welcome back to Ode to Ghosts. I am your host, Audrey.
I am also your host, Will.
All right. And we also have another co-host today named Ned. I don't think he's going to introduce himself, though.
Everybody say hi to Ned.
Hi, Ned. You might have been able to hear him breathe. He just did a pretty loud breathe, but...
We got 4 stories today. Big shocker. And we have a new segment, an educational segment with Miss Audrey Tate over there.
Oh.
She's going to be...
Am I the educator?
We talked about this already.
Well, I didn't know I was like educating. I thought we were just talking.
Well, the idea is to, like, you can educate some people.
Okay. Well, do you want to get into your story first?
My story first?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't really have any life updates going on right now.
No, we really don't.
We've been boring since we've been back from AZ.
But that's okay.
All right. Man, I feel really boring tonight.
You just gotta really get yourself going. Like you gotta...
Alright, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
today the first Reddit story is going to be coming from the Paranormal Encounters subreddit.
Let's hear it.
From the username Odd Replacement 4771. Posted 12 days ago, and it's called Estate Sale.
Okay.
You acted like that was spooky.
Like that was spooky?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, estate sale?
Yeah. Think of all of the things that are connected to all of those objects that have been in that house for a long time.
So, both of the stories that I have are pretty short, but they both contain images, and they both contain thought.
They both contain thought.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay.
I hope you're buckled in and ready for this wild ride.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
With your drink and your snack and your cat.
Snack?
Yeah.
I don't have a snack.
And people... I meant...
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go now. Hey, everyone. This was my first encounter with anything paranormal. Me and my mom stopped at an estate sale. This is really off.
You got one successful sentence.
Me and my mom stopped at an estate sale while going out to yard sales. As we walked in the house, there were these beautiful Chinese or Japanese dolls on display, and as we kept looking, there was a lot of stuff from outside of the States. Immediately, we knew somebody had passed away. The people who were selling the stuff didn't seem like they were related to whoever passed. It seemed like they were hired by the family. Anyway, as we're looking at the glass cabinet, we decide to head down the hall into one of the rooms. There were 2 rooms down the hall to the right and one directly at the end. There was somebody looking at one of the rooms on the right, so we decided to go down the hall. When we walked in, it was a very small room with nothing but a small table with the dolls in the picture. I guess we can go ahead and put those up there now. Those are the dolls. I guess I could show you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Dolls.
Great.
Dolls.
Okay.
Okay. Those are the dolls in question. A big Jesus painting in the window, and a few clothes hanging from the closet door. The room was very small, and as soon as I stepped into the room, I felt somebody was behind me, so I turned around thinking maybe it was the person down the hall walking in. Nobody was there. As we stayed in that room, it felt like somebody was moving my hair and breathing down my neck. It was very eerie, and we didn't dare touch anything in that room. We walked out and entered the room to the right, which was obviously the room the owners stayed in. Looking at the clothes, it was definitely an older couple, and the husband had to have been in the service. Assuming he was the one who had bought her beautiful Japanese dolls. There was a wedding dress hanging up in the closet with a bedazzled cowgirl hat, and a uniform and a hat for a man. and a uniform and hat for a man. When we walked in the room, my heart started to hurt. It felt like the couple had died together and recently, and I can't explain how I felt that.
Hmm.
I looked over at my mom and she asked if I was ready. I said yes, and as we were walking out of the small house, my mom started crying hysterically and couldn't even drive away. She said she couldn't help but imagine that it was her who passed away.
Okay.
That she felt a feeling in her chest and somebody in her ear telling her that it's their stuff, that they weren't ready to give it away and move on.
Oh my
This
gosh.
happened about a month ago or less, and I honestly haven't stopped thinking about it. This is my first time posting anything on this sub. Please forgive me if this isn't the right place to share my experience.
Creepy.
And then one other thing from that person. They said, the only part I left out of the story is when we went home, we told my father, and I couldn't stop remembering the Japanese dolls that were on display. I felt, and still do, really drawn to them in a weird way, and I decided to see if I can find one of them on Google, and I did. They looked like this.
That's not a creepy doll, I guess.
Well, no, they don't
That one's
have
a
to
pretty
look
cool.
creepy to like contain.
I think the first picture that you showed me, though, were those the same dolls?
No.
Okay, I was going to say, those ones were kind of creepy.
They seem to be more like African American in nature
Oh.
than like Chinese or Japanese.
Oh. Okay.
Like maybe comparable to maybe something you'd find in like Jonaluska, or like you would have found in Jonaluska around here, maybe.
What do you mean?
Just that like culture of doll.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Do you agree?
I don't know. I don't really know. I've never seen dolls like that before.
Oh, okay.
Well, like not like in person, I guess. I don't know.
Somebody said, considering what dolls were originally used for, I wouldn't be surprised if some didn't contain a spirit or two. And the same person said, it's often thought that the religious purposes of dolls came before the children's use of them as a toy. They were often used as connections to the gods for channeling or housing spirits, for use in curses or healing, or for warding off curses. Ushabti, for example, were placed in ancient Egyptian tombs to act as spiritual servants in the next life. There were also effigies of people in other ways doing tasks that served the same purpose, often made of wood. The Roman women would sometimes offer up their old dolls upon adulthood to the goddesses of home and hearth. You could also use dolls to house intent for a curse or a healing for someone depending on how you use it. I tend to think they're still very attractive objects for spirits too. It's a fun topic to research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I haven't really researched why spirits are so prone to taking over dolls
Yeah.
over other objects. I've never really thought of that before.
Hey guys, we're not intelligent. We never said that you were 100% going to learn anything from any of these episodes. We're not like these spiritual connoisseurs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We're learning right along with you. And
True.
yeah, so we're a little bit dumb.
You're speaking for me a lot here.
Am I wrong?
No.
No, I'm not wrong. We are both
Okay.
dumb.
Okay. Whatever.
So yeah, that was like the long one of my two stories.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
That's all right.
the second one has a creepy picture
All right.
with
I'm
a
looking forward
dog
to
in it.
A dog?
A dog.
Or is it a creepy dog?
No, but it's like
Oh.
one of like those little Chihuahua dogs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like it's not an ugly dog, but it's also not the cutest thing I've ever seen in the world. I probably shouldn't talk about this person's dog like that. I'm sorry. Your dog is very cute. Okay, let's move on.
Okay. So My first story is from the paranormal subreddit, and it was posted by the user Silent Strength 26, and it's titled, "The Night Something Wearing My Grandpa's Face Tried to Enter My Room."
Oh my God. Hold on. Shout out to chocolate milk. Our episode is sponsored by chocolate milk. No specific brand, but just chocolate milk.
Yeah, well, we're currently drinking Food Lion brand chocolate milk.
Sponsored by Food Lion.
Okay. Disclosure, I want to say I had an encounter in the spiritual realm, and while I dealt with it according to my personal spiritual beliefs, please don't allow them to discourage you reading. I want all of your inside and outside perspectives. This happened Sunday in the early morning hours. This was posted today, by the way. So they're referencing.
It's always so much creepier
yesterday.
when they just happen.
So this happened yesterday. This happened Sunday in the early morning hours, and I still haven't fully shaken it. I know the difference between a dream and something more, and this was definitely more. Before bed, I felt it, a thick, eerie presence I couldn't explain. I was staying at my grandma's house just across the hall from where my grandpa's ashes are kept. The air felt heavy and wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I just knew something was off. So I prayed, not just any prayer, but the Lord's Prayer, followed by a very intentional prayer for protection. It felt necessary. Then came the encounter. I woke up standing at the doorway of my bedroom, not wandering or confused like in a normal dream, but completely aware. Lucid like I was awake, but knew my body was asleep in bed. I knew exactly where I was, and that's when I saw it. Standing just beyond the threshold was something that looked like my grandpa, but it wasn't him. The eyes were too large, and it didn't speak. It just stared at me, predatory. I didn't feel peace or comfort. I felt watched or hunted. And then...
Wait. This is troubling because typically when people have these encounters with their, like, past family members, it's, like, usually, like, a relieving, like, thing with closure. And then something is, like, using that against you. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then I realized it wasn't just standing there, it was waiting. That door between us wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. I could feel it. Whatever this thing was, it needed my permission to come in. And here's the strangest part. I knew it wanted me to speak, not just react, but speak. And I knew deep in my spirit that anything I said, anything other than invoking the authority of Jesus, would have granted it access. That's how thin this line was. The Bible talks about doors a lot. Genesis 4:7 says, "Sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it." That's exactly how it felt. This wasn't a nightmare. This was a spiritual standoff. I believe it was a familiar spirit, a type of demonic entity that mimics love's...
All right.
That mimics loved ones who have passed. The Bible warns about this as well. This thing was trying to confuse me, trick me, bait me into saying anything that would give it legal ground. But I knew it wasn't my grandpa, and I knew better than to answer to it casually. So I spoke, "In Jesus' name I rebuke you." Once, twice, 3 times, each louder, firmer, more sure of the authority I was standing in. And it couldn't move. It didn't cross the threshold. It just stood there, smirking, tilting its head, almost annoyed, but still challenging me like it was daring me to drop my guard and give it a foothold.
I can, like, picture it.
I know. It's really creepy.
It's like that one Titan that says my profile picture on TikTok.
That's what you're picturing?
Well, no, but, I mean, what kind of? Actually, maybe a little bit.
Okay. Then everything turned white, blinding, and I felt myself pulled backwards, snapped right back into bed. I woke up instantly, heart racing, but somehow safe and protected. And number 3, that wasn't and the number 3.
Take your time. You got it.
Sorry, the next sentence was just, and the number 3, that wasn't random. I was just confused because I haven't seen a number 3 mentioned yet. Anyways, I'll keep reading. In Scripture, 3 is a symbol of completion and spiritual power, the Trinity. I believe by rebuking it 3 times, I sealed whatever door it was trying to come through. This experience shook me, but it didn't break me. And now I can't help but wonder. My grandma once said that she saw Grandpa after he passed, but what if what she saw wasn't really him? Maybe what came to her wore a different mask, but had the same goal. Christian religion aside, as that's my personal faith, and I'm not forcing that belief onto anyone, I genuinely want to hear what others think, from all perspectives. What did I encounter? Has anyone else experienced something like this, especially with spirits that imitate loved ones? This has opened my eyes in a way I never expected.
That is my first time hearing about something like that. Because literally every other story I've heard has been like seeing your family member and being reassuring, that they're like safe or whatever. But something,
Well, I mean, to me it just sounds like you've heard stories of mimics before. Yes, it just sounds like that. Except I don't know if I've heard of
but it just sounds different.
a mimic of like somebody who is not currently alive and there.
Exactly.
So yeah, that definitely does sound very I guess just very threatening, because it's like it knows what it's doing is the thing. I think that's what you were getting at.
Obviously, like a lot of things that we've read would scar me if I experienced them. But this is one of the ones that just like feels so different and would like really mess with you because like especially if you haven't gotten any closure, for lack of a better word, from that relative after they've passed, and this is your first time like seeing them again.
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah. There's a kind of a lot of comments on, well, not a lot of comments, but some longer comments on this one. And I haven't read any of them all the way through, but I'll just read the one that has like the most replies and stuff. So this one says, while I'm not Christian, what you wrote here is something many experience. Some end up letting them in and it never ends well. Some do not, and like yourself, have that extra awareness of what lurks just beyond. I've always told those close to me, when dealing with anything in the paranormal vein, never let them in. Never give them permission, ever. Because once you do, as you said, that line is very thin when they come knocking. They will come right in and make your life hell. I had an ex that let one in at a young age, and it had taken too much control of him. It was pretty nasty, strong, and came from a place that would be likened to hell. I spoke to it, and its inhuman voice was not my boyfriend's voice. It called itself Michael, but it was no angel. It tested me and others like it were constantly trying to find a way in, but I never let them in. I was curious, but always cautious. My best friend at the time unfortunately let one in, and I know it was a bad experience for him. No idea if he still lives with it to this day, but wouldn't be surprised if he did.
I didn't know this was such a common thing.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. And then that same person responds to OP. OP responds and says, wow, thank you for sharing your experiences. Makes me feel a little less misunderstood on the matter. And then they respond again, saying to like try and like still figure out what the intentions were without engaging enough to let it in, which I personally would be too scared to engage with it at all. Like at that, like I would just,
I'm the same way.
because I wouldn't want to take like a tiny little step too far and let it come in, and
and then like all you're stuck with this like fake image of a past love.
Well, no, not necessarily, because it's probably just taking that form temporarily to try to trick you.
I guess
It probably would
I'm
be
just
different
thinking
after,
about
but
like the family members that I've had recently and just like picturing this like distorted image.
yeah, no, that would be really disturbing to like see the form of like your grandfather who you love and are familiar with, and then but also see like behind its eyes that it's not him, and like see a whole different intention, a whole different
This one's gonna bother
personality.
me tonight.
Yeah. Well, it's just like sinister. Like it just sounds like
Like it's
so
it's
evil.
outright cruelty is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Dare I say the evilest of any of the stories that we've had.
definitely could be, yeah. But doesn't seem like this is OP's house. So luckily I don't think they have to deal with it like on the daily.
Mm-hmm.
But they did mention that their grandmother had seen him before and are unsure if she saw the actual grandfather or this spirit. We don't know. So hopefully the grandmother does not fall victim to this. But yeah, that's about all I have
This one is
to say on
bothering
that
me
one.
like a
I
little bit
know.
extra.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on from this one.
All right. I was waiting for you to say that. I figured you wanted to.
Now it's time for Spirit School with Audrey.
Oh gosh, don't do that. I don't like that.
Why?
I don't like being put on the
You're
spotlight
not put
like
on the
that.
spot. You know what's happening.
I know, but okay.
So the reason why this is Spirit School is because 2 episodes ago, we got a comment on YouTube from at RMAS1088. I guess in that episode we had talked about something to do with like saging and cleansing and stuff. And they said, I am always curious as to people trying to cleanse with sage, or is it the purpose of stating verbally as words have power? Thanks for sharing another episode of stories. Yeah, I was just like, maybe we'll talk about this on the next episode, which would have been last episode, and we didn't talk about it because I forgot about it. So their main question is, like, is it the sage itself that is doing the cleansing, or is it the verbiage that is doing the cleansing? But we can also talk a little bit about like what, for people who don't know how sage works, you can talk a little bit about that.
Talk a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a little research because I kind of knew about it, but I wanted to be sure because I didn't want to spread any misinformation. And I am glad that I looked into it a little bit more because there was some stuff I learned that I didn't previously know. But to mainly answer the question of like what purpose sage actually has, like kind of like how it does what people say it does. So this goes back to like Native American culture and religion, and I will preface this by saying that a lot of sources that I went to and a lot of like personal comments that I saw from people are that the practice of burning white sage, which is also called smudging, is generally a pretty closed practice among Native Americans. So, which I didn't actually previously know. I knew that saging came from Native American practice, but wasn't sure of if it was a closed practice or not, but it is. So just be careful when you're messing around with sage or herbs or burning or any of that sort of stuff. And that goes for any type of like ritual
Any
that you can
spiritual
think
practice
of.
at all, like,
Really just like look into where it comes from and how to do it properly and respectfully. Like, because if you do things with bad intentions or no intentions or
you
going against the advice of certain where that tradition or practice comes from, it can bring more harm to you than good. So just be careful about that.
look at it as kind of like a religious tradition in a way. Like you don't want to
It is a religious tradition.
disrespect the origins
Mm-hmm.
of that tradition, regardless of if it has a negative consequence.
Right.
Or not.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so as to my understanding, that's just with white sage, and that it's also I also discovered that white sage itself is considered an endangered plant species. So another reason to maybe not just be messing around with white sage for no reason. There should be purpose behind it for that reason as well. Anyways, getting to what it does. The idea and the association of sage is that it cleanses the space, and it does this both literally and spiritually, I guess, because you can sage your house to clean the air because it can rid it of bacteria and such. But it is also known to the smoke from the sage when you burn it is supposed to connect the two realms, the spiritual realm and the physical realm, which will kind of allow you to communicate with spirits. And what I found interesting is that when you are burning sage and you're cleansing the space, it actually has nothing to do with the spirits. The sage doesn't affect the spirits at all, but it does affect your space. So negative spirits and negative energy can only exist in a space where negative energy is already lingering. So when you cleanse that space and you get rid of all that negative energy, those negative spirits don't have anywhere to stay. They don't have anywhere to go. So they will just naturally kind of flee. I just hit the spring on this. I'm so clumsy with this microphone arm.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Yes.
negative spirits will flee the space and try to get out because they don't have anywhere to exist anymore in that space. And continuously saging even after that, even if you're not experiencing anything actively, can help prevent negative spirits from coming back in. But that's also why it's important that if you do sage your house or an object or whatever you are doing, to get every nook and cranny, every room, even the closets, because any negative space that is not oh my gosh,
You got it.
that has not been eradicated, as the spirit can go to. So just make sure you do that. And also to answer the question of like whether or not it's the sage or the verbiage that gets rid of spirits, obviously it's not the sage, but also speaking to it can also help to get them out faster, easier, whatever it might be. Just think of it as like if you are saging and also like telling the spirit to get out, that it has no place there, it might just listen to you. So that way, if you did miss a spot in your home, it might not be there because it listens to your voice. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm not a sage expert either. I did the research, but now you know. So, do you have anything to add?
Did you mention the like wanting to have a door or window
Oh, yeah.
open?
Having a door or a window open is a good idea when you're saging as well, because if your intention is to get rid of negative energy, then it has a place to go. So,
And sage scented incense from Walmart is not going to do the same
no,
thing.
get real sage.
So don't go around looking like an idiot, just waving your little
Yeah.
incense burner
Yeah,
around.
and white sage is the one where you may want to avoid that if you are not actually using it for good intentions or as a member of the Native American culture.
But I can call you an idiot for that because I also thought the same thing. I was just like, oh, we got this sage stick. We can just go around and
You thought
blend
that?
stuff. We talked about that. But
Did
anyway, yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah. And I also talked a little bit earlier about like how you can use other herbs and other spices and other things to cleanse your space as well or protect your space. It doesn't have to just be sage. So, like putting the salt around your doorways or either above your door, like on the trim or like above wherever, or on the doorstep can help protect your home from any negative energy entering.
And then with that, I made the correlation to, like in biblical times, as far as like Christian belief goes. I believe it was the Israelites during the final plague. God commanded Moses to tell the Israelites to sacrifice a lamb and put its blood on top of the doorway outside. And so whenever the final plague happened, If you had that blood on your door frame on the outside, the angel of death would go right past. And that's like, for somebody who knows Christianity but doesn't know like sage and stuff as well, I think that's a pretty good comparison, because it's doing generally the same thing.
Right. And I'm sure if you look into the practices and cultures of really any religion, you'll find something similar to that. But I don't know enough about that with other religions to speak on it, so I won't. But, you know, if you're curious and want to do a little bit of investigating, I might do that as well, actually, because I'm quite interested in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's all that I really told you earlier.
You have been listening to Spirit School with Audrey Tate.
Yeah, I hope everybody learned something. But it is interesting because even like me having a little bit of new information about it, like kind of does give a lot more context to stories when you hear about saging or think of it as a solution. Like better understanding that kind of stuff is.
So you take this
definitely a good idea.
information and you apply it to the next episodes, and you learn and you connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. So.
Good stuff, girl.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Speaking facts over here.
Quite literally.
Yep. All right. So it's your turn. Back to you.
Stop whacking
Sorry.
the microphone arm. You're going to make noises. Put your hand down. Goodness gracious. Oh, we can't have nice things.
Okay.
All right. So, as I said before, this last post is a short one. It also comes from the Paranormal Encounters subreddit from user Outrageous Flight 77, posted 12 days ago. And the title is, "This photo was taken in 2013. I'm still dumbfounded by it." And all it says is, for context, my twin sister committed suicide at 15 years old in 2012. I took this photo shortly after I got my first smartphone. Naturally, I played around with my camera settings and took some flash photos of my dog with the sepia setting on, whatever that means. I didn't notice the background imagery until weeks later. The face in the image looks a lot like my sister, but she looks like she's crying, and the triangle design along with the orbs are so fascinating to me. It has disturbed me for years. What are your thoughts? So I'll throw up the little thing right up there.
Yes, I'd love to see this photo.
So this is the...
Okay.
Yeah, you can... Yep. So for those of you that...
It's a cute dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you that...
Oh my gosh, that's actually such a clear photo.
Yeah. For those of you that are not watching and are only listening, it is a picture of this, or a close-up picture of this dog, like Chihuahua dog, in a dark room, and just above the dog's head there is a picture of, or not a picture, imagery of what appears to be a like ghost face.
Well, it honestly just
face.
looks like a person's face, but it's kind of like shadowy.
Yeah, same idea.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a ghost or anything. It just
Like
looks
the
like
ghost
a person.
of said person.
Yeah, sure.
And then they posted a comment below that says, "Let me be clear. Let me be clear."
I knew you were going to do that. As soon as you said that.
I might have to put that up there.
Now, let me be clear.
Yeah. Let me be clear. I took this picture after 10 p.m. and my room was completely dark other than some white Christmas lights strung around my closet door. I had no mirrors in my room and my windows had curtains drawn. If I still had the photos, I would share them, but I had taken multiple photos seconds apart with nothing in the foreground in the others. The flash is what makes the background dark, so why would there be any visible light in the area I circled? I don't know how else to explain what this picture shows. And then a lot of people are just trying to give her reassurance, like saying, it looks to me like she's smiling, not crying for what it's worth. Looks like she's laughing. Somebody said it would be interesting to see your sister's face for comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was something that was ever shared, though.
Mm.
Somebody said, anyone notice the fingers on the right side of the triangle like she's holding something?
Oh, wait, what? I might need to take another look at this photo.
It looks like she's holding the Illuminati.
Let me see.
Yeah, so again, if you're not watching, you have like the little face, and then to the right of the face, there's this little triangle orb looking thing, and on the right side of the triangle, it looks like there's like 2 or 3 fingers like wrapping around it.
Yeah. That's so strange. Yeah, it looks like either she's like holding something, or maybe it's kind of like, it could be just like her shirt or something, and there's just like a shadow over her. I mean, you might see what I'm talking about if you look at this picture.
Look at this picture. Picture I was already looking
Like with that idea in your head.
I don't see it.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any. Say something cool. Say something. Say something cool.
I don't have any cool information. I'm sorry, guys.
Hey, I always come in clutch when you're looking for something.
Do you?
I do. And you're
Do
like, say
you?
something. And I start talking about stuff.
Okay.
That dog is the grand wizard of the Illuminati.
Maybe.
That's what somebody said.
I don't think it looks like an Illuminati symbol.
I do.
I don't.
It's a whole triangle. It actually does look like there's an eye in it.
Just because it's kind of a triangle shape doesn't mean it's...
Look. Eye, eyebrow. You see it. Don't lie.
Yeah, but like... Isn't the eyeball usually in the center of the triangle?
Okay. We obviously all know that it's not actually the Illuminati.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think it looks like an Illuminati symbol.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I just thought that
the username for my next story is really funny.
Hey,
sorry.
why are you already getting into that?
So you told me to talk about something, and then you're
talking about a different story.
Well, because I just happened to glance over the story. I didn't remember the name of this username, and I glanced at it and I realized what it was, and I thought it was funny, and I giggled. So sorry. Sue me.
I will. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of skeptics in the comments.
I feel like usually there are when it has to do with like a photo.
But like even after they've already said like no mirrors, no TV, no open window, or like no like visible window panes, like anything like that. So yeah.
Well, yeah, like photos and glares and light reflections and all that kind of stuff is so strange. So there's always going to be people that are wondering about that.
But I mean, like, you're never really going to know, but like...
Exactly.
Yeah, so thank you, Outrageous Flight 77, for sharing that, and I'm very sorry to hear about your sister, and I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I don't think I had... Yeah, like in the generic message I always send, like, if you have any other evidence or information. And then they said, I don't have any more information other than that picture. The dog's name is Kimmy. That's it.
Okay, that was weird.
One of our other co-hosts started licking himself. And
but it was really loud.
It was very loud. Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to go into the last story?
No, I don't want to hear your last story because you tried to interrupt my story.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
This username is so funny.
You weren't saying anything. Okay. This is ridiculous. I'm reading it anyway. I don't care. Okay. This one was posted in the paranormal subreddit. And the paranormal subreddit. And the username is Doobie Doopy. Doobie Doopy.
That's so funny.
It is funny. It's just silly.
Everybody laugh.
Okay.
It's a mid-zippy.
You know, you don't have to always make fun of me.
I don't always make fun of you. I only
Yes,
make
you do.
fun of you when you did something that's worth making fun of.
Okay. This title is I Live in the Heart of Appalachia, and this is easily the most terrifying story of one of my experiences. So.
I'm scared.
Good. This story may be short or it might be drawn out. I am recounting these events as I type it, and as it was honestly one of the most horrifying things I have experienced, and it brings me genuine stress to think about.
Is it short or is it drawn out?
It's like medium length.
What is your problem with me right now?
You just interrupted my story, actually.
But it was a question about your story.
You could have just figured it out as I read.
Or you could just answer my question about your story.
I did.
Okay, so why were you complaining about it?
You complained about it.
You complained about me interrupting your story.
I answered you, and you're like, why are you being all...
Yeah, because the way you answered it, you were like, it's like medium length.
Okay. I'm so confused. What are you going on about?
Just stay confused, girl.
This happened maybe 2 to 3 years ago. I live in southern West Virginia and have for my entire life. The woods and mountains surround every direction you look, and nighttime is a darkness that you can never dream of unless experienced. I was with a friend. I'll call him Mark. Mark was at my house one evening doing the usual things, watching UFC, playing Xbox, etc. It was extremely late when we finally got bored and decided to go for a walk on a nearby trail and smoke a joint. This is not a particularly long trail, but it is very dense in the woods that surround it, and it is easy to get freaked out when thinking of your surroundings.
You're already so dumb. I'm sorry. Like, come on.
We finally get to about halfway into the trail, about 30 minutes in, where we stop, pack our joint, and stand on the trail to chill and talk. The forest is very alive tonight. There are always noises in the woods, but the amount of animal activity for the time was unsettling. At this point, it was probably past 1 a.m. This was strange and kind of eerie, but not alerting, as any sort of predatory animal in the area may cause a disturbance. We finish smoking and continue our walk when almost immediately the forest falls dead quiet. And as soon as the forest goes quiet, there's a voice. It almost sounds like a mocking, humanoid voice, shaky and uncertain. Almost like an old children's toy, like the ones with the crackly speakers and robotic voice, if you know what I mean.
I said this already. The voices need to stop.
This immediately sets us off. We bolt directly down the opposite length of the trail, but the sound does not gain distance. It doesn't get closer per se, but no matter how far we ran down the trail, this eerie voice remains the same volume, going over and over with no quieting or stopping. At this point, I am convinced that we are in genuine danger, something I have felt very few times. Finally, after sprinting for who knows how long, we exit the trail, grasping for breath, and almost at the verge of tears of how frightening this was. We begin to exit the trail, and about 5 minutes from the exit, there is a bone-shaking, heart-stopping, murderous scream from directly behind us. I know what a mountain lion sounds like. This was not an animal. This was not someone playing or watching a movie. This scream sent birds flying from nests and made my heart drop into my stomach.
It's so funny that's always the assumption is a mountain lion.
Mm-hmm. It was the most genuinely depraved and violent scream that I've ever heard. This is a true story that I have only told to maybe 3 people, all of whom seemed to brush it off as false. I've never been a person to push for the existence of paranormal or spiritual, but I genuinely believe I encountered something inhuman in those woods. Edit. I know I will receive questions such as what their voice was possibly saying, or to explain the area and what happened after. I genuinely cannot remember what the voice was saying, if anything intelligible. I don't know if I could understand it then, and I certainly can't recall understanding it after several years of blocking it out of my memory. All that I recall is that it was a fluctuating voice in pitch, shaking, almost just joining sounds together. After running from the scream at the end of the trail, we ran to the car, which was only about another 5 more minutes from the trail, so we got there relatively fast from sprinting.
These are like some of the
You
worst
won't look
stories
happy.
to sit with for us because we're like in it.
Yeah. Well, I don't hike at night.
That's why I'm saying,
I've
like,
been
why
out
would you?
hiking in the dark twice in my life, I think. Like, hiking in the dark. The first time was that one time when we were hiking on Grandfather Mountain, and we were out in the winter a lot later than we were expecting, and we hiked like the last
That hike.
maybe
That was
it
the
was like
longest.
the last mile we hiked in the dark, right?
That was the longest hike that we had ever done up until that point, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we just like, it was an impulsive decision to go hike it with a couple of our friends, and we weren't prepared for it. Like, especially like as
Oh,
far
no,
as
not at
food
all.
goes, we had like a banana,
We had one banana for the group, and
2
I
bananas,
think Dara had like a bag that had like some pistachios in it, but like it
and
wasn't
you
full. It
had
was like,
pomegranate seeds
yeah.
or whatever.
But I was the only one that liked pomegranate seeds, so I was the only one that ate them.
And as we were walking back down, we were, at least the 2 of us, were very like lethargic and starving. And that mile or whatever we hiked in the dark seemed to last
Oh, I
forever.
know.
And we
And
started
like,
talking about like, what if we're in like a loop hole right now, and like it just like never ends or whatever.
no. I feel like we were definitely being like very dramatic about
Of
it in the
course.
time
But who
because,
wouldn't in the middle of the Appalachian
yeah, for one, it was my
wilderness?
first time ever being like out in the middle of the woods when it was dark out. Like, obviously I'd been out there like during like dawn where it's like where the sun is still up, but it's like dark, you know what I mean? But like, no, this was like pitch black. You could not see anything without the headlamp. And to top it off, it was also January, so the trails were icy and snowy, and I was in boots that were not made for hiking. They were
This
just
is
like
true.
casual boots. But again, I was not expecting the trail to be so what it was. But anyways, that, and then the other time was whenever we were hiking Guadalupe Mountains, and we started at like 4 a.m. and it was dark out.
Yeah,
But that was
Guadalupe
like,
Peak. Yeah.
it was kind of a different vibe though, because it
Oh yeah,
was like the sun
absolutely.
was like
Like
coming
we
up
were
soon, and
preparing for the beautiful sunrise and everything.
but
Yeah, that was great.
anyways,
2 very different.
plus like it's not Appalachia out there. Like, I feel like I was just like in my own head because I was like, oh,
You're in the Appalachian Mountains.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that. Like, you will not catch me going out into the woods voluntarily out here
Unless you're like
at night.
camping.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But anyways,
Yeah.
that's creepy. Do you have anything else to say on that?
I'm trying to like
Besides the fact that it's just like
recall
really
the story that
creepy.
you just told because we started talking about
Hiking in the hiking a trail in the woods in the middle of the night, 1 a.m. They hear a weird
Oh yeah, okay, I got
voice.
it. I did want to say like I know that everybody's different, and I get that like you don't remember what the voice said and everything, because for some people like that's the only way to like deal with that kind of stuff is to block it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm only saying this to say, like, me personally, I don't think I could ever forget
Yeah.
what the person or thing or
Me too.
was saying.
I feel like I would definitely remember.
So not
But
being a skeptic, but just saying that to say that we all have our different ways of coping. And for people that are skeptics of it, like, you got to realize that everybody has their. It's just like judging somebody for like being humorous, like during a time of death
grief,
or something. Yeah. We
or
all got
trauma dumping and like making jokes about like super serious issues.
Yeah.
But it's just the way that you like deal with it.
I've got this
just make it
lady
less serious.
at work. She's a medical assistant along with me, and she lost her husband like years ago, and that's like she always has like dark jokes and stuff because that's just how like some people
Mm-hmm.
deal with it. But I mean, and people can make you feel crazy for that stuff too, because I mean,
You're being so insensitive.
yeah,
And it's
and
like, well, if I'm joking about my own life, like my own experiences, like who are you to
it's not
say?
even that. It's also like when it comes to people who just generally aren't very emotional when it comes to that kind of stuff, because like over the like family members that I've lost, I haven't cried once. Does that mean that I don't miss them? No. Does that mean that like I don't care? No. It's just like you gotta.
Mm-hmm.
We're not all programmed the same. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I got.
That was pretty far strayed from the story, but was still relevant.
Still very relevant. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we got for y'all this week.
That is all we got, and I'm so excited to go to bed in like 2 hours.
Yeah, as you can tell,
This guy's
you
sleepy.
definitely look like you're falling asleep.
And this
over
guy's
there.
still got to edit this video so it can go up in 2 days. Yeah. Thank you as always for watching. Go buy merch, spirittalkpodcast.com. Join our subreddit, Ode to Ghosts. Follow us on Instagram at Ode to Ghosts Podcast. Follow us, really, any social media at Ode to Ghosts Podcast, except for X, because nobody wants that shit. X is stupid. But yeah, we're getting out of here. Take care of yourselves. Stay away from creepy people, creepy spirits, stuff.
Creepy sounds. Stay away from the woods at night.
Yeah, just lock your doors, close your windows.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And also don't touch scary, creepy dolls.
None of that.
Or white sage unless you're,
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.